Finally, Santos fans can breathe a little easier, especially after qualifying for the round of 16 in the Copa do Brasil. Santos, who won on Wednesday night against Coritiba 2-0 at Couto Pereira, with goals scored in the first half, first by Gabriel Bontempo and then by Donis Frias, the goal-scoring defender, 2 goals in 2 games. Look, I have to admit to you that when the CBF drew these matchups for the 5th round of the Copa do Brasil, Santos ended up getting Coritiba, which was the strongest team, a team that came from Serie B and that Santos hadn't faced in a while, especially since Santos was recently relegated too. So it was a highly anticipated match because of how balanced both teams were compared to the other games in this round. At Vila Belmiro, there was a lot of frustration on the 22nd because it was a goalless draw and that feeling that they could have taken even a small lead by winning the first game so that the decision at Couto Pereira would have less pressure. A newly arrived Cuca, who ended up drawing a lot of matches, went through a long winless streak similar to Voivoda's at the beginning of the year. It was 7 games without a win. I brought this up at the press conference after last Sunday's victory, right on Mother's Day, in a 2-0 win. Against Red Bull Bragantino in an empty Vila Belmiro, fewer than 7,000 people showed up. And I questioned whether this up-and-down team won on Sunday against Massa Bruto, a victory that also wasn't brilliant, but it was an extremely competent game from Santos. But the talk, even from some players, was that it wasn't important to play beautifully or play well if they weren't going to get the result, which happened in many games, especially when Santos managed to take the lead and ended up conceding the equalizer. Many times the team didn't know how to deal with the pressure of the game after a defeat. So in that match against Coxa, I wrote about it in Lance, saying it was important to show the fans what the real ambitions for the season would be. Because let's remember last year Santos lost to CRB in 2 completely lifeless matches. At Vila Belmiro, Brazão even prevented Santos from losing by saving the penalty against CRB. And then at Rei Pelé, penalties, Neymar arguing with the opposing fans. And Santos only played in the Brazilian Championship from May to December, so it was a very sparse schedule. This year, they're back to playing in the Sudamericana. Remember, they're in a very complicated situation. They're at the bottom of the group, but they still have a chance to qualify, or at least to play in the playoffs against the Libertadores teams in the Brazilian Championship. This win over Red Bull gives them some breathing room in the standings. They haven't moved away from the relegation zone, but they still have a small cushion, especially because the standings are still very tight. A lot of teams have 17, 18, 19 or 20 points. It's more about the top of the table having pulled away a bit with those first few teams. And Cuca talked about this in a press conference. Sometimes you win 1 or 2 games in a row in the Brasileirao and you end up climbing a lot in the standings, so Santos needs that. But the fact is that these 2 wins in 2 different competitions give an extra boost to the fans and to Neymar as well. Of course, today he was far from having a brilliant match, but Cuca also sets up the team without building the team around him. He had the courage to leave Gabriel Barbosa on the bench again. He comes in precisely in Neymar's place at the end of the second half. And there's also the matter of Adonis Frias starting to establish himself as a starter in defense in Luan Perez's place, who suffered an injury to his hand, and also the Santos Academy kid Joana Nias, who has already been an option in the starting lineup as well. So Santos is starting to take shape. With Rolesa playing better, Barrial was a bit less noticeable today, but in the match against Massa Bruta he did very well. And on Sunday, Coritiba again. That's why this win is so important today. Money in the pocket too with the qualification 3 million reais. In the last game, Santos' knockout match in the Paulista Championship, Santos lost to Novo Horizontino and was eliminated. It was a huge disappointment, especially because it was only Neymar's second game of the season. He missed 10 games. He played in the big win over Velo Club, but when they reached Novo Horizonte, the team couldn't respond. And now, in a new knockout game, Santos shows efficiency. It shows that maybe there really is a way to fix this team and aim for bigger things in the second half of the year, especially because soon we'll have a break for the World Cup. We're just over 15 days away from the end of the Brazilian Championship. And Santos is in the final stretch, and on Sunday there's a decisive match for Neymar to finally convince the national team coach Carlo Ancelotti to include him in the squad list, which will be announced on Monday afternoon. So this match is at 11 a.m. In fact, Santos released a statement explaining the instability of the Sociore website system. Many people still can't get tickets for this match at the Neoquímica Arena. For several reasons, right? I've already talked about this on Lance too. The match is at 11 a.m. to cater to people in the city of São Paulo, where there are a lot of people who attend Santos games. To motivate Neymar for this Monday's call-up, there are several factors, right? Especially because if Neymar gets called up, he probably won't play for Santos anymore to preserve himself for the World Cup, which is his big dream, right? Making all this preparation worth it, including having played through injury at the end of last year to help get Santos out of the relegation zone. So, a lot is at stake this Sunday. I'll be at Neoquímica Arena, where we can access the mixed zone. At Vila Belmiro, we only get mixed zone access during e-ball competitions. The Brazilian League, Copa do Brasil. Anyway, we don't have that little corridor where the players leave and we have the chance to get a different comment from them, right? Except for Cuca's press conference, which is held as usual. So Neymar always stops in the mixed zone to talk. So it's going to be an important game to also understand Neymar's intentions until the end of the year. So his contract with Santos runs through December. But that's it, guys. In general, Santos didn't play that amazing soccer, but it doesn't matter. The goal was to win. This victory was built in the first half. They had a bit of a scare in the second half. Santos will return to training this Thursday afternoon, getting ready to face Coritiba again. So it's an easier preparation because both teams already know each other, right? They're going to play 3 times in a short period of time. I believe Cuca will think about it. Strategies so that Santos can win these 3 points on Sunday and really get into the battle for mid-table and stop talking so much about the relegation zone. The situation is difficult too because there are 2 games in the Sudamericana before this first phase ends. They'll be looking to qualify and maybe they won't have Neymar as their trump card. But at the same time, new key players are emerging, right? Like I said, Neymar didn't play great football today, on the contrary. So the responsibility starts to shift to others. And the players are stepping up at a time of greater pressure when more is being demanded of the team and there's nowhere left to hide. Now they need to breathe and bring a little more joy to their fans. That's right, everyone. Keep following us, especially on Lance, but also here on our YouTube channel. Today we had a live pre-game show. It was really nice to take part. Our Peixão WhatsApp channel, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. You already know where to find us. And I count on your interaction here on social media and on our YouTube channel as well, okay?
So, did you like this video? Then give it a like, share it with your friends, and take the opportunity to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to receive notifications for all the content published here on Lance.